Hi everyone, my name is Destiny. I'm from Singapore. I'm here to share my experience for the Global Korea Scholarship I applied in 2020. So briefly about this scholarship, it's by Korean government. You get free tuition, uh, living expenses, language school training. Yeah. So there are not a lot of information about business or global MBA application in Korean schools or in particular to this scholarship. So I applied through the embassy track in Singapore last year. My first three choices were Sungkyunkwan, Yonsei, and Busan National University. The first two schools were global MBA. The last one was business administration in finance. Some of you would have already gone through the embassy track interview by now. I'm not sure about the schools directly. So, I mean, there are information about the interview questions that you might have in the embassy interview, but basically they're just asking about why and what and how. So, what from your personal statement and study plan and how you're gonna like execute them when you're in Korea. So for my case, it's like they asked me to first self introduce myself in Korean, even though I don't have any topics and certificate. But because I've studied Korean when I was in United States and in Singapore, so I just give it a try and then but when you do your introduction, you don't share about information that's really clearly written on your application. You have to give something new that is interesting and, impress the interviewers. So I can't really exactly remember what I said in my self introduction. So I'm just gonna skip that. Second thing they ask is why did I choose Seongyungwan as my first choice and what is my plan after getting the MBA. So I actually wrote about this global 아니요. I wrote about the Korean startup center that's like setting up in some countries. One of them is Singapore. So having this MBA will actually help me learn more about Korea business culture and helping them integrate into Singapore business environment since I have already worked in the real world for a long time. Yeah, and I have some experience with Koreans in Singapore, and I even helped open a Korean Taekwondo school from Korea, setting up their first branch in Singapore because I've learned Taekwondo too. And then from next week, they told me that I passed. Wow. So it's like getting a new chance in life for me because I'm pretty old. Yeah, and there were 8 of us who passed in the embassy track, and all of them have TOPIK certificate except me. I'm kind of surprised that I passed actually. So proceeding to the next step, which is the second round for me, it was really long. It was like 2 months. But because of coronavirus situation, they sort of like delay by a week too. So during that period, I was looking for like people who apply in the same major and also to check out my competition. Yeah. Talk about the backgrounds and which schools and how we can prepare ourselves for the interview or like share some information about what we know about the schools. So I actually took the opportunity to check out those who have actually passed the past few years. And my interest at that time was really just into Sungkyunkwan University, but I changed to Yonsei Day. Then I mean Yonsei University after the in school interview. Um, so there are not a lot of videos talking about MBA interviews in GKS especially. So I'm making this video to share. And you can take reference from it, but I think I don't know whether that's the requirement for applying MBA because you got to set yourself as a unique and special student for MBA schools to take you in, you know? So everyone has really diverse background and like they are experts in different field that they are working or studying in. So for me it's just real estate. For the rest it's finance. There are kind of like different majors among the applicants, but just skip that. So what I did go through with the MBA school interview is like they ask questions about why I applied to their school and what I wish to achieve by studying MBA in their school and what I can bring into the school. These are kind of general questions that they'll probably ask in any MBA school, but for Korea scholarship in particular, they don't require any GMAT. So, which is kind of a good thing because I didn't want to take the GMAT. Basically, the best advice for global MBA or business major interview is just gonna be confident about yourself and show determination on like your goals. Really just show like that lively student. I wouldn't say student, but individual that can, make the environment dynamic and diverse. Honestly, while I was doing the interview over Zoom, uh, although it's not face to face, but I was so nervous. Um, just be confident. I remember I was gonna puke right before the interview, but I made it by really acting to be confident. And yeah, so I just take it like I'm having a conversation with my friends. Yeah, but in a more formal setting. What else? So, oh, and my GPA was 82%. I think I was one of the lowest among the candidates that they have. But I think what helped me actually was the background that I came from and yeah, the interview. So I would say like the interview is very, 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 very important. So while waiting for second round, the school interview was right after. So it's best to prepare it now. Or if you're applying for the university track to Seongyungwan, you just have the interview straight away with the MBA schools. And they will just basically ask you the same kind of questions like why our school, why MBA, and what and how you're gonna like help our school in certain way. You're gonna really show that you're worth their time, you know? And not to mention the tuition fee for MBA is really expensive compared to the other normal majors, like 2.5 times. So I did my calculations. So it's good to know whatever you have signed yourself up for. Uh, what else? So in particularly about the interview questions, it's really about what you wrote in your personal statement and study plan. For Seongyungwan University, it's just you have a one-to-one interview over Zoom, and they ask you the normal kind of questions, and they will try to carry out conversations. I would say the atmosphere kind of friendly because the professor it's not Korean, so you don't really have to, you know, have uh, the typical Korean like formal setting, speaking in like with the respect formal Korean. Yeah, it was pretty friendly. And then for Yonsei University, it was two professors, and they will carry out the interview in English. But if you do know Korean, like if you have topic 5 or 6, they probably ask you in Korean because they're Koreans. But what surprises me was that actually before the interview, uh, Yonsei actually would require you to submit an online application and resume, whatever information that you can add to your KGS, I mean the GKS application, and they will sort of filter out the applicants. So there were some who were rejected right before, I mean before the interview, and some of us actually got the interview. It doesn't matter, like if you get 99% or your school is in what kind of relationship with their school, because they only really just see you as an individual in your background. Uh, so Yonsei is kind of different from Sungkyunkwan. I think Sungkyunkwan gives like opportunity to every candidate. So yeah, you don't have to worry about not getting interview. So once you get the interview chance with any of the schools, you just gotta be really confident about yourself and share about your goals in particular, and you know how you can cope with like the difficult environment that you may face in Korea, especially with the language. I mean, they didn't ask me about Korean because I could speak Korean and I had some working experience with some Korean companies or school. And yeah, Yonsei was in particularly surprising because like the professor really read every single thing that I wrote in my personal statement and study plan. And yeah, and I mentioned that I actually put Sungkyunkwan as my first choice. So it's a Sky University, like Seoul National University, Korean University, Yonsei University. I think they have their kind of pride. It's one of the best schools in Korea to Koreans. So Yonsei University professors were actually asking me why like Yonsei wasn't the first choice. It was like, oh well, like one. I mean, first, second, third choice doesn't matter because every school is good in their own ways. But I did criticize about like Yonsei University not having enough information in English than in Korean. So that would actually need some improvement because they're global MBA. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the interview questions for Sungkyunkwan was kind of like expected and really friendly. But on the other hand, Yonsei University interview questions were really, I would say, kind of hard. I mean, they're trying to be professional, but at the same time, friendly. So I was kind of like confused, but at the time, I wasn't really keen on Yonsei University. I was like, okay, just just like relax and answer the question in like the normal way that I would. Oh, so it was also because of the interview that I changed my mind to go to Yonsei because I like the professor more when they ask me questions really specifically, like what I wrote. I feel like they go into details, and I really just think again my options. Uh, for the last school, Busan National University, they actually assign you according to the major that you apply. So I was applying to finance, and I talk about like the interesting thing that Busan National University had in their finance department, which is on cryptocurrency and like IT sort of like technology. Uh, the first advice I would give for interview preparation was first, you have to know what each school like provide, like what kind of vision that they have. So for me, I really wanted to go to Seongyungwan University, and then but Seongyungwan had the information session they shared with uh, every applicant. They talk about, oh, you're doing an MBA, like a US MBA, but in Korea. And then they have this student who was like in the previous year, I mean graduated from Sungkyunkwan, talking about why she chose uh Sungkyunkwan over Yonsei University. So I wasn't impressed that I mean if I were to do a US MBA, it's better to go to US where there are better schools, or I could just do it in National University of Singapore, which is more reputable in Asia than Korea. And then, but what I found about Yonsei University MBA was their focus, or rather their subjects were more towards Korea, China, or Japan, East Asia business environment. Mm, which is something like I would really want to learn about. And because their professors are Korean, I think they would have better information or, you know, culture sense in East Asia, especially in Korea. That's why I changed my mind to Yonsei. Mm, I mean, besides that, Yonsei is also a really popular choice among Koreans. So I actually asked my Korean friends whether I should choose between Yonsei or Seongyungwan. Yeah. Uh, uh, yeah. So like the next point is you gotta be confident. You have to carve an identity. I mean, a personality that they'll like. I mean, you have to be yourself. For me, I think my background, my school, my experience with Korean, and definitely my recommendation letter from my professors, with powerful background. And lastly, the personal statement and study plan. Yeah. So, I did receive some questions from Instagram or Facebook. Let me check it. Yeah. So, um, it's just the general kind of questions, like what kind of interview questions that you have. But it's really annoying to get questions about the application, like documents, because everything is clearly written there. So I didn't do a YouTube video to tell people about it. Yes. And it was kind of hard to advise individually if you don't tell me about your background. Mm, what else? Hmm. This is such a long. Okay, so I had no topic, no GMAT, and I don't have to submit TOEIC, TOEFL, IELTS, because my major was in English. Singapore official language was English. Mm-hmm. Let me see. I mean, internship is considered one of like the working experience. My GPA was 82%. Yeah, so basically that's all. Mm, if you have any other questions, you can just write in the comment section, and I wouldn't answer questions on which school is better, but I would advise for you to think about what you actually want from the school and how you can contribute to the school, and be confident about yourself. Like, because I didn't, and I was really grateful to some of my friends who helped me and support me through the difficult times, and like sharing information about what we know about the school, and definitely some seniors who were in Yonsei University before that. But I would say each school has their own good points and bad points. Uh, but yep, good luck. So if you have any questions that you need to ask, you can type in the comment section below, and then I will try my best to reply, because right now I'm kind of busy with studying Korean. Uh, Basically, if you're the ideal MBA student, you would know what you should do. Uh, Ask really smart questions, and then like be impressive as yourself. But at the same time, yeah, you need to check out your competition. But I would say what matter most, it's how prepared you are for your interview, and like try to think carefully before you answer straight away. Uh, what else? And don't be like complacent just because your school, your college was your sister's school. I mean the sister school to the university. Uh, and then just be special. I'm not special, but yeah. There's nothing to be afraid of because if you fail this time, you can always apply next year. Because like the scholarship's not gonna end. In fact, it will get better because we got higher expenses. I mean higher living expenses. Expenses on uh allowance than the previous year. But do remember you require a minimum topic 3 from the language year before you can go to the global MBA program. If you can't get used to like living in a foreign environment, learning a new language, totally new language, it will be hard because yeah, if you can't get the topic 3, you have to start paying 50%. And it's really up to whether the school wants to accept you. But global MBA, they only have one intake per year every September. So it's good that you know you can survive in this kind of environment. Even for me, it was kind of difficult, but I'm not sure if it's just my school. Yeah. So I hope my video will actually help some of you and not find me too naggy about all this. So take your time while waiting, or yeah, really read through what kind of things that you wrote in your personal statement and study plan, and be sure to like answer them the same way or something more interesting. But don't make up stories because they can tell if you lie. And other than the basic stuff, like you have to dress formally for the Zoom interview, or like make sure you have a better internet connection because that could possibly cause some problem for some countries. And yeah, it's definitely worth getting the scholarship for the MBA because it's so expensive, and you really have like advantage of not having a GMAT. So that's all. Everyone, good luck. Bye.